Okay, so forming the irregular verb sum esse in the present and imperfect. This verb doesn't follow the rules that we discussed for first through fourth conjugation. That's why it's called irregular. You just need to memorize the forms. However, it still has some familiar endings. One of the problems, though, is that we don't have a consistent stem. So in the present tense, some forms are going to start with su, just like sum, and some are going to start with the es of esse. And there's 3 of each. We can still copy the first word of the dictionary definition, sum, into the first person singular. And then from there, we just need to remember the spots where it begins with either es or su. These spots will be helpful later too when you learn other verbs, so it's really important to know this chart in particular. Now, the personal endings for this verb are still the same, m or o, st, mus, tis, nt, as the regular verbs. You can see here we have m instead of o, and then here we already have the s. So here we're just going to add in the t, the mus, tis, and nt. And then we have our forms, sum es est, sumus estis sunt. In the imperfect, we're familiar with the endings bom, bos, bot, and then in the plural, bomus, botis, and bont on our regular verbs in the imperfect. Sum esse doesn't use bom, bos, bot, but it looks a little similar if you erase the b and replace it with the letters er. You get the imperfect forms of sum. Eram, eras, erat, eramus, eratis, erant. In English, these are also a little irregular when you translate them. So sum is I am, but then the am changes, we get you are, and it changes again, we get he, she, or it is. And then the plural is a little more consistent. We, you all, and they all use are. It's a little less irregular, but still a little irregular in the imperfect. We have I was, and he, she, or it was. And then everywhere else, we'll translate using the word were. If you think about the way we did the other verbs in the imperfect, the translation was I was verbing, you were verbing. So technically, here you can imagine the word being, right? This verb means to be. So Aram means I was being something, you were being something, and so on. But in English, usually we just leave that part out. And those are your forms of the irregular verb sum esse in the present and imperfect tense.